What you're about to listen to is a Bry-Fy production.
Comic book reviews. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Bry-Fy podcast. I'm your host, Bry-Fy, your comics guy, and today is a pretty late episode, and I'm sorry about that, but Casey, RJ, and I were actually having a little family vacation this past week. It started on Sunday. We decided to take RJ to Slitterbahn in New Braunfels, Texas, which is always a blast. RJ has really, he's always liked water, but he's really become like a merman when it comes to water. He's always loved the ocean, and he's just like Casey and my wife and all this. I hate the beach. I hate the sand. It's grainy. It gets everywhere. I'm like Anakin Skywalker. But RJ has always loved the water, even though he's not a great swimmer. We've tried. It's always really hard working with RJ when it comes to things like this because he gets overly excited and overly stimulated, and it usually, whatever lesson we try doing, devolves into just yelling and screaming, and then people think we're trying to drown our child in the ocean, and that's obviously not what we're doing, but it feels that way. So, to really help us out with it, he's taken to wearing a life jacket, and it's like one of those really, it's like a thinner one, or I say a thin one, like a slim one that does help, but isn't like the most buoyant. So it won't let him drown, but it doesn't keep him like floaties above water. Like it lets him sink a bit so he can use the motion of moving his arms and legs, which he does. And so to me, I tell myself, like, we're getting there, we're making progress. Like, he's not a super strong swimmer, but how many like super strong 8-year-old swimmers do you know, right? At least that's what I tell myself, and that's what I try telling Casey. So, I was one with the water when I was actually it's funny because when I think about being RJ's age, I was also super into the water and swam every day during the summer, and because my grandparents had a pool, and so we would go over there so my parents could have a break every day, I guess. I don't know. Anyway. But so we did that, and then we decided to spend some time in Austin, Texas, which is like one of our favorite cities to visit. And so we just had a big old blast doing all that. The weather was great until like the last day when tropical storms were blowing into Texas. So for that, we decided to extend our stay one more day. And so we came home yesterday, Thursday. Today is Friday when I'm recording this. I'm not sure if I'll put it, well, I'm going to work tonight, so it's not coming out till like this weekend at some point, but so I was supposed to be home on Wednesday and I was going to record an episode, but didn't get home till Thursday, was super exhausted, and now on Friday I'm recording the episode, so blam. But we do have some things to talk about. There's some stuff I wanted to review. While on vacation, one of my biggest things was I wanted to visit a bunch of card shops, trading card shops, in the Austin area, not just for Pokemon, but also for baseball. And while I only visited one sport-eccentric card shop, because I was mostly looking for Pokemon, there was one baseball one that I wanted to check out. And so I'll tell you about all these stores, and I'll kind of review them for you, how I felt about them, and how good, or, customer service and stuff. And then we'll leave you on for the rest of your weekend. But before that, we do have some Nifty Nerd News to talk about. So let's get into the Nifty Nerd News. Alright guys, so up first for the Nifty Nerd News, it looks like Joey Chestnut, the famous food eating champion of the world, is banned from Nathan's Hot Dogs eating contest, like the contest that made him famous. And I guess is it's like the hot dog eating contest, the one that's televised on ESPN, the Nathan's Hot Dog eating contest. Well, they've decided to just cut ties with Joey Chestnut because he decided to better his health. Well, I don't know if it was really better his health, but he took an endorsement from a plant-based hot dog brand, and Nathan's Hot Dog did not take too kindly of that, man. In fact, of the 17 Nathan's Hot Dog eating contests that he's been in, he's won 16 of them, which is crazy. I mean, he was for a while there, he was kind of like the big deal until this Japanese guy came along. But I think it turns out the Japanese guy has been banned from Nathan's Hot Dog eating contest as well. And I'm not even sure why, honestly, but I didn't delve too deep into him. I was just so shocked to hear that Joey Chestnut was banned. And like I said, it's like I've always known him as being like the contestant, right? When you see the men's category. And for Nathan's to be like, oh no, you're siding with the plant-based company, you're not allowed to be, like, I don't know, were they giving this man like free hot dogs for life? I mean, arguably so with the eating contest, but like, I don't understand the controversy. Like, it's weird to me. I guess maybe eating hot dogs is a lot like how basketball players wear shoes. Like, if you're sponsored by Nike, you're only supposed to wear Nikes. So if I see you out in some Crocs, like, I'm going to tell your sponsor and they're going to fire you. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just such a weird thing. And it's funny that it's news to me, but it's been around for a while. Like, this news came out like, the beginning of the month, but I'm just now like really, well, also I'm really just talking about it because the last 2 weeks of episodes have been like Comic Palooza highlight stuff that we've been talking about. And so yeah, anyway, getting way further away than what I wanted to get into. Up next in the nifty nerd news is I completely spaced because I'm also driving, which don't recommend. Don't podcast and drive, people. I've been doing it for many, many years. Not safe. And I'm here to tell you that. I've been fine for many, many years, but it's not safe. Hey, there goes Paul. Anyway, wait, is he getting off work already? Maybe he was on... Anyway, back. We're getting back focused here. So, if you haven't seen the Nintendo Direct here recently, some exciting news for a new Legend of Zelda game, which is going to focus around playing as the title character, Zelda. Normally you play as Link, and you go around trying to save Princess Zelda, and now, in this version of the Legend of Zelda, you get to actually play as Zelda and go save Link, which I think is really fun. It sounds really cool. It looks like it's in the style of when they redid Link's Awakening for the Nintendo Switch. So I haven't played that game. I think I really should. But this one looks looks very entertaining because, of course, how would Zelda fight? Now, we've seen like in Smash Brothers when she's Sheik and fights that way, like as a cool ninja warrior, but like Princess Zelda, how would she fight? You're not going to give her a sword like Link, and plus it's a different character. You want to do something a little different. So it seems like she gets a magical staff or a rod and is able to create copies of objects and even enemies to use to fight alongside with her. And so it looks like it's definitely going to be more of a adventure puzzle base with some combat type style of a game. And it seems actually really interesting to me. I'm kind of wanting to get this game to play it for my Nintendo Switch because it's something different and it looks cute. It looks great. Like when they redid Link's Awakening for the Switch, it really piqued my interest in how it looked. I thought it looked really cute, and now I'm gonna play it, man. Like, so really excited, can't wait. And people are putting up crazy signs. Don't know what's going on. Driving through small town Texas. Yay. Moving on. Spaceball 2 Spaceballs 2, that's, for some reason, that's really hard for me, is in the works at Amazon, and rumor is Josh Gad will be your leading man for the new series. He's going to help produce it with Mel Brooks. Of course, I'm a huge fan of Mel Brooks movies. They are always funny, sometimes inappropriate. Well, a lot of times inappropriate, but I still think they kind of hold up, though. Like, if you watch them, I think there are some, maybe not all of them. Like, let's be realistic here. These were definitely made at a different time, right? But a lot of the humor, I think, is still really funny. And I think a lot of people would agree. And so I'm kind of excited. And plus, what would a Mel Brooks movie in 2025, 2026, whenever this comes out, look like? You know, I mean, he's getting up there in age, but I think it'd be a lot of fun. And plus, they've made jokes with the Spaceballs movie in the past, the first one, of like a sequel, you know? And so, like, finally getting to that sequel decades later, I think is a fun joke in its own right. But also, like, you can make fun of yourself in the first movie. And I mean, that's kind of what Mel Brooks has always done. He's made fun of himself. He's made fun of the business. He just likes making fun of people. And so this could be a really interesting take on it. Spaceballs is always a fun franchise. You have plenty of more content from the Star Wars and Star Trek universe to pull from now. And so I'm really excited, man. I think this could be a good time, and hopefully it gets made. Because, like I said, I'm a big Mel Brooks fan. I like his movies. And yeah, that's it. That's all I wanted to say. And the last bit of nifty nerd news that I have for you is, hey, are you looking for a job? Would you like to make roughly $15 an hour? And would you like to work from home? And would you like your job to be basically a video game? Now, not playing video games, but to work inside of a video game at an IKEA. That's what the masterminds over at IKEA are playing around with. Supposedly they want to do an online IKEA store within Roblox. And this is not a new concept. It might sound like you've never heard this before, which this might be the first time you're hearing about this, but this is not the first time this has been done. So you would actually make legit IKEA purchases within Roblox. They would take real money or whatever you put into Roblox, and when you purchase that item in game, they will send that item to you in IRL, in real life. And to me, that's such a fun concept. It's bizarre, but maybe it's the next step in marketing and games and stuff. So, like, we've talked about in-game ads with video games, but what if games started to add in-game store purchases? So, you know, like with Amazon, you get an Amazon link, and where people buy stuff through your Amazon link, you get like a small kickback. What if video game companies started doing that with stores? So, like, you're playing Call of Duty, and, you know, you're flying through, and you happen to notice this really awesome piece of furniture that's in this, like, casino area that you're just racking up your kill score with. You're like, wow, man, that would look really badass in my house. And then if you go up to it, it's like, oh yeah, hold down the X button, or, well, no, that's too common. So something that, like, the L1 button to purchase or add to cart, so you can purchase for your home. And then, like, it's a store, like Ashley Furniture has that, like, you know, like actual furniture store furniture in game that you can purchase, where the game gets like a 1% kickback for your purchase, or so. I don't know, like something crazy like that. This is a whack ass idea, I know, but it's a funny idea, which I honestly could see game companies trying. And Roblox is not even, like I said, this isn't even the first time it's been done, but Roblox seems like the game where, you know, you can do kind of whatever you want within Roblox, or like VR chat, like something like that. And you can have like stores and stuff where people interact and sell things, and they get sent to them in real life. This is very much like Ready Player One type ground that we're breaking into here, and I'm all for it. Like, I don't know, you're like rolling through the jungle, like playing, I don't know, Far Cry or something, and then like you see like this really cool plant, and you're like, wow, that's really great, like that would look really cool in my house. And then you get close enough to it and it's like, hold L2 for to add to cart, and it like gets shipped from, I don't know, who sells plants, like a store like Home Depot or Lowe's or IKEA. They sell plants too. So like, I don't know, man, I feel like I'm on to something, and I probably need to trademark that now. You heard it here first, people. No. I think it's a funny concept. I think it's really interesting. And it's just an idea, man. Like, games want more money and we want less in-your-face ads. Maybe adding something like this, or like you see like a billboard in a game that's like, it shows off like, hey, this is featured furniture from I don't know any other furniture stores besides Ashley and IKEA. So, Lazy Boy, there we go. There's another one, like a Lazy Boy chair. And like, you can go up to it, or if you shoot at it, you can open up a menu thing that's like add to cart, and you can add it to your online cart and make a purchase from there. And maybe some games, depending on how well you do or stuff like that, can give you actual currency that you could use towards these purchases, or maybe like in-game currency that gives you up to X amount discount from that you have to pay real world money for, like, you know, and cap the discount at like 20% off or something like that, 10 to 20% off. I don't know. Like, these are just ideas I'm floating around that I'm sure game developers have actually floated around in their own headspace and have shot down. And I'm here to tell you, I'm all for it. Now, I am not the average gamer. So the average gamer might hate that idea. So don't listen to me, Sony. I know you always come to my podcast, you, Microsoft, and Nintendo, looking for new ideas because I'm full of them. But maybe pass on this one. Or if enough of us agree that this is a great idea, maybe it's time to shoot your shot, kid. Anyway, that's all that I have for the Nifty Nerd News today. We spent quite a bit of time talking about all that stuff. But don't worry, because the next part should be pretty quick. We're going to go through some of the card and game stores that I visited in Austin, Texas, to tell you which ones were my favorite, which ones had a great selection, and which ones you probably need to avoid, depending on what you're looking for. So let's take a short break here, and we'll get back into talking about card shops. All right, guys, welcome back to the Bry-Fy podcast. Today, for things to review, we're going to talk about some card shops in the Austin, Texas area. Like I said, this past vacation, I really wanted to visit some card shops because my dream goal now is to collect the holy trinity of Pokemon cards. That is right, the Venusaur, Blastoise, and Charizard from the base set. I'm not trying to get like first edition, near mint type stuff. I want heavily played, probably being the worst. I didn't want damaged cards. I want, like, you know, heavily to lightly played cards, and they can be from unlimited, so not first editions, but they definitely need to be holographic because I like displaying cards in my phone case, and I don't want to have like super near mint, very valuable versions of these cards to do that with. And so that's kind of why I'm like looking for the ones that I'm looking for at the quality that I'm looking for. And they're not cheap. So I did find a Charizard, and this was before the Austin trip. I found a Charizard in a small card shop in a town called Lake Jackson, actually. We happened to be visiting some friends there, and they have a mall there, and inside that mall was a card store that had some older cards, which I've talked about Lake Jackson before. I've talked about another shop there called Top Shelf TCG that has a lot of current and tons of singles. It's still, even after the Austin trip, this is probably still my favorite card store, not just because it's close to me, but because the selection and the customer service there is really great. But the place that I found inside the mall in Lake Jackson, the guy's really nice. I enjoy talking to him. His card selection is a lot smaller, but he happened to have a base set Charizard in very good condition, or what I'm looking for, probably moderately played, and selling it for, I think, about $250 is what I paid for it, which I'm fine with that. So made that purchase. Got some Astros stuff too, because I collect Astros baseball cards as well, and so had a Charizard. So my big acquisitions for this trip were a Venusaur and a Blastoise, and so we'll talk about that and talk about where I found these cards at and how I felt about them and if I actually made the purchases. So one of the first places I visited where we stayed in Austin was kind of northwest Austin. It's called the Domain, is the big shopping area of where that's at. And the first place I visited was Mothership Books and Games. Now, these first two places, Mothership Books and Games and the Game Castle Austin, are more game stores. I mean, they clearly say game store. So like, what is it? Like D&D, Warhammer, things like that. But Mothership Books and Games also had a pretty big focus on Magic the Gathering. Same with Game Castle Austin. I think Game Castle was more Magic the Gathering than Mothership Book and Games. But they did have sealed Pokemon stuff. So you could buy like Elite Trainer boxes, or you could buy booster packs, but they didn't sell singles really, which was kind of disappointing because they sold singles of Magic the Gathering, and I think one had Yu-Gi-Oh! So I was like, but why not Pokemon? So Magic the Gathering arguably is, at least for game stores, more popular than Pokemon. And it seems like when I find a store that sells Pokemon, it is more Pokemon-centric and everything else is an afterthought. And so it's almost like Pokemon is its own thing, like its own standalone thing. And you'll hear more about that when I talk about some other stores. But it's kind of weird that these other stores don't cash in on what's arguably one of the largest like brands out there. Like, I don't know, to me it's just very bizarre. In fact, when I was talking, I remember getting in depth with the guy who owned the card shop in the mall in Lake Jackson. He told me that like his biggest seller was the Pokemon cards that he had, even though it's such a small selection. He said he was consistently selling Pokemon cards versus some other things where he might go a day or something without selling them. But man, he was like going through Pokemon cards like crazy. So it was always very interesting to me. Let's see. I visited Gamefella's video game store. I can't remember what part of Austin that was. I think south side of Austin, if I'm not mistaken. And they were definitely more. They had a couple of Pokemon singles, not a lot. It was probably the smallest selection of Pokemon singles that I ever found was at Gamefella's Video Game Exchange store. Definitely the place for video games, though. It's in the name. But they advertised that they sold Pokemon cards. They do sell sealed packs. They had a lot of Pokemon Go stuff, which if I hadn't master setted that, I would have been really excited for that stuff. Guys were fairly nice. They were busy working with another client, so that had to, that was taking precedent over me. I was just kind of hunting and searching. One of the other stores that was highly rated to go visit was called Pixel Haven Gaming and Collectibles. That was in downtown Austin, pretty close to the university. It was off I-35. And this one was highly rated. It still is highly rated. If you look, I think it's got a 4.6 out of 5-star rating. And it is probably in one of the scariest parts of town, which has got to be good when it's in a really sketchy part of town, right? And honestly, what I liked about them is they had an in-store online, like an in-store computer that had a catalog of all the cards and the values that they sell them at. And they actually had the base set Blastoise that I was looking at. But when I looked it up, because I saw it there in the case, so I was like, oh, there's a Blastoise. Hey man, I'm looking for that card. How much are you selling it for? And he's like, oh, go over to that computer and look it up. Is the exact, he could have done it himself, because I later asked him about another card when I was trying to buy said Blastoise. He then looked up the value of a different card for me at the computer, but I don't know, and he wasn't helping anybody, so I thought it was kind of weird, and it was an awkward experience, customer service wise. The store doesn't have a lot to it. The selection of Pokemon cards was actually not that large, but I did like their computer catalog. That was kind of neat. But when I saw it, they had a picture of the first edition Blastoise, which is not what they had in the counter. It was an unlimited Blastoise, and they're selling it for $150. So I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. It's a first edition holo. It's got some damage on it. Well, like, definitely heavily no, it had a crease in it. I remember seeing a crease in it, and I was like, well, yeah, I saw it. Like, you listed the price for the first edition, but because it has the picture and everything, but this one is the unlimited, so I was wondering what this price was. And he looks it up. He's like, oh no, we just used the first edition picture. I was like, oh, okay, so you're really selling a creased card for $150. When I look online, I can find one lightly played for like 60 to like anywhere between like 60 to 75 bucks. So you're literally selling this card at double the price with double the damage than what I can find online. I didn't say that to his face, but that's the look I'm giving him. Is like, are you kidding me? Like, I can literally buy this card now online. I want to support local businesses, so I try not to buy stuff online if I can avoid it. And like, I don't know. Pixel Haven was definitely a letdown for me based on everything that I heard about it. And I was just kind of disappointed in the customer service there, the price of the cards. And actually, when I started looking at some of the other cards and asking them the values, they were definitely a lot more expensive than any of the other card shops, and definitely online. Moving on to, and so I had to pass up on the Blastoise there because I thought that was an outrageous price. I then visited Bandito's. It's a little card shop off of, I guess it's called Loop 1, near the Capitol Highway of Texas. I think those are the two roads. And this is by far the smallest card shop that I have ever been to. It is in a tiny, barely one-room kind of shed, like the location is. But it's like in a storefront. Like, so, I mean, like, it looks like it should be much larger, but when you walk in, I'm telling you, it is like trying to just walk in a minivan. Now, the rest of, like, the space is for retail stuff, so they have, so don't let me discourage you by talking about the size of this place, because in this small space is packed the most trading card things that I have ever seen in my life. Like, this place is absolutely packed. If I was talking about cards per square inch, this place is like New York City, where all the other places were like a country town. Like, this place was chock full of Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, they had some baseball, other sports. I mean, this had it all. Magic the Gathering, everything, any kind of card store, like trading card game you could think of, Banditos had it. And these were some of the nicest people that I talked to all weekend. I got to have a conversation with the I'm guessing the owner or one of the main employees. I thought he was the owner of the store based on how he was talking to people and stuff. And he was such a delight to talk to. We reminisced about stuff. I told him what I was in there looking for. He had everything kind of cataloged in like pull-out bins and stuff. So a little different. He didn't have it out on display, and I think it was because he said he just recently got it, so he hadn't had time to catalog it and put it out into the display. And so I was really excited. They had tons of singles and like different cases, so it was really neat to see all that. And so I was very hopeful. And then lo and behold, they have a Venusaur there, which I was really excited about. However, this Venusaur was damaged. It had a huge crease on it. The back of it looked really bad. And he was selling it for really cheap, like I think $40. And so I was like, oh shit, like that's perfect price wise, but the damage was really bad in it. and I still want, I want it to look nice in my phone case when I display it and stuff. And like the back can be a little beat up. That's fine with me. I definitely need the front to look pretty good though, or at least decent. And so unfortunately, Banditos, which I will say is probably my favorite store in Austin, Texas, for cards, didn't have quite what I wanted. But he was more than willing to take my number and my email and message me and like have like some discourse with each other if one came in. And I passed on that, said, well, I'm really just visiting, man. But next time I'm in town, I'm definitely coming to visit the store and stuff like that. And so I was really excited about that. So Banditos definitely has my seal of approval. The place I ended up actually finding a card to purchase, which was a Venusaur, was at Space Goblin Collectibles. That was on the south side of Austin as well. This place was another great store to go to. Not quite as, like, I think these were definitely the top two Pokemon card places I went to, Banditos and Space Goblin Collectibles. I think I liked Banditos better, but Space Goblin had great customer service. They have their store on TCG Player, which you can look on their TCG Player to help you find cards there in store, which I was really appreciative of that they directed me to that. They had 3 different Venusaurs. One was from the Legendary Collection, and so I wanted to pass on that because that wasn't base set. I was looking for base set stuff, although it looks almost exactly the same, right? It just has that little card symbol on it that shows it's not from the base set. And then they had another one that was not in great condition, and then they had one that I wanted. It was in a decent enough condition. They were charging, I think, $60 for it. It did have one defect on it where it wasn't a bend or a crease. No creases, no bends on this card. But it looks like there's kind of like a decent scratch where the move set is, and the hollow foil underneath was coming through. So you could clearly see that. But it didn't look terribly bad. And for $60, I was like, you know what? That's not a bad deal. And if I do find a better one later, I'll go with that. But I definitely wanted to leave with something, right? Like something's better than nothing. And because that was the whole point of me going all over Austin, Texas looking for these cards, right? And so Space Goblin was really great. Ended up finding it. There's 2 other stores that I visited that are Pokemon eccentric. I forgot to mention one was in North Austin. I'm trying to look for it on my map because I'm not seeing it here. It was in an outlet mall north, like I guess the Round Rock is where you would call it. And it wasn't Pokemaniacs. What the hell was it called? So I did visit a Pokemaniacs while I'm trying to look for this other store. Pokemaniacs, which has like all kinds of Pokemon stuff in it, was a blast. I really enjoyed it a lot. Hold on, let me just type it. Sorry. Pause. Pokemon cards. So you had Pokemaniacs. What was the other place called? Man, I can't find it. So, Press Play was the other store. There we go. And I think Press Play and Pokemaniacs either work together, maybe owned by the same parent company. I'm not sure. But those 2 stores, the Press Play in the mall in Round Rock, which is North Austin, and the Pokemaniacs, which was in, I think it's Barton Creek Mall in South Austin, they are strictly Pokemon, just about. I mean, they have some other stuff, but I mean, it's heavy Pokemon. They got plushies, trading cards. Like, if it was a Pokemon collectible, it was there in that store. And I did buy some other cards from there that I thought were really cool and really interesting, but ultimately couldn't find any of the base set stuff that I was looking for. And those were actually 2 of the first places I went to. Fairly nice, more chain type stores versus mom and pop stuff. But huge selection. I mean, they had just about everything, man. Like I couldn't not find what I wanted there, other than the base set stuff. Like any other set, like they had older sets and all kinds of other booster stuff that was really awesome, really neat. So definitely would recommend going to those stores if you just kind of wanted to look around and look for some Pokemon stuff and you weren't wanting to go to like tiny mom and pop shops down side roads and off highways and stuff. These guys are in malls, which, you know, malls have a bunch of other stuff. So if you want to go like JCPenney's, Macy's, you know, things like that, Pokemaniacs and Press Play are good stores to visit because they're, you know, something that your kids or you as a collector or fan of Pokemon could stop by. Like, oh, like, who would know this place is here, honey? Like, yeah, you know, like when I did my wife, I was like, hey, let's just go to this mall. Maybe we'll find something to do or walk around. I'm like, oh, would you believe there's a Pokemaniac store in here? Wow, so weird, cool. But, yeah, no, it was a blast, man. Honorable mention to a baseball card store that I went to that also had a couple of Pokemon things. It was called Kenny's Cards and Collectibles, and that was on the south side of Austin as well. Pokemon stuff, they didn't really sell. They sold singles, but it was all like new stuff. It seemed like Pokemon is something he's just getting into, or kind of like he knew like some kids or his grandkids were, I don't know, but definitely an afterthought. The store is definitely a sports card store, and if you're there for sports card, baseball, football, basketball, I mean, this place has got you covered. Kenny's Collectibles was fantastic, and when you first go in, it's like in a big warehouse, but when you first walk in, it's like a tiny room like Bandito's was, and he's got 2 cases on either side with stuff in there, autograph stuff, memorabilia things, so a lot of cool things. But then the store opens up in the back where it is like 4 or 5 different rooms. He's got Hot Wheels. Like if it was collectible, Kenny had it. And it was insane. The NFL sports card section was crazy. He had autographed helmets, jerseys. It was fantastic. My favorite part about the baseball card stuff that he had is when you went to where he had all his baseball stuff, they were sorted by teams. Or he had like the Texas teams all sorted out. So I could find my Houston Astros stuff in there. And everything was very reasonably priced. I really enjoyed that. And so I was just going through looking for some cool Astros cards. Didn't have too many parallel stuff, so nothing like crazy valuable or at least not out there, like, you know, like $15-20 type stuff. He had some couple $100 stuff in the case that I was definitely not touching, but I was just looking for some cool little parallels, like different colored cards and things like that. And didn't really find anything. I did find some rookies and some prospect cards for some players, and I ended up buying a Jeremy Pena prospect card that I was pretty happy about. And I think I only paid $5 for that. So it was a pretty good day for me getting a chance to visit there. And so next time I'm in town, I'm definitely going to be visiting Kenny's and Bandito's to look at what kind of card stuff they have and maybe purchase some singles. But that's pretty much it, guys. I want to thank y'all so much for listening to the episode this week. Spent a lot of time talking with you guys and trying to get back into the swing of things, getting out of Comic Palooza mode and transitioning back into Bry-Fy Podcast's regular show. It's going to be still kind of a transition, but we're working on it, and I'm working on some stuff at work, so we might have a little bit more transitioning, getting into a new release schedule or recording schedule. I don't know yet. We're working on it. I'm trying to see what's going to happen, but I will be sure to let you guys know. Anyway, that's all that I have for you guys today, so we will chit chat with y'all next week. Bry-Fy out.